Hello again, friends. This next video on knots is about tying off at the end of your thread. So we don't want all of your lovely work to unravel as soon as you snip the thread, so you need to be able to tie a knot so that it stays where it belongs. What you're going to do when you get to the end of your seam is you are going to get that needle underneath the closest stitch and pull it through, but you want to leave a little loop there. There's not an exact size that it needs to be, but it needs to be big enough for the needle to go through easily and not so big that you can't figure out where the loop is. You're going to pull that tight so that it's hugging that needle tightly and hold it there and pull the needle through. And we're going to do that once more. Don't let that loop disappear because we want to put the needle through it. And pull that so that it's hugging the needle tightly. We're going to hold that in place while we pull the needle and pull all of that thread through, and that will make a nice tight knot at the end of your seam. You will want most of the time to hide the tail of your thread, and you can do that by putting the needle back down into the fabric. Instead of putting it through both layers of fabric, you're going to try your best to put it through just one layer of fabric, if you can see that, so that it's sandwiched between the two. And then you can bring it out through some random point in the middle of the work and snip it off clean, and that'll hide your tail. So let's see that again. We will sew a couple stitches up, down, and this will be enough for me to practice tying that knot. So I'm going to catch the closest stitch, and there's a couple of things I want you to notice. That tail is stuck in there. We don't want to get that tail stuck in there, so we're going to pull that tail out. And this is a pretty big loop, but we can work with that, just so long as I don't make sure, or just so long as I make sure that I don't do weird things. I could put it through like this. I don't think that would break anything, but it would make an extra large knot. Alright, now there's one more loop. Put that needle through, pull it tight, and pull it all the way through. Alright, there's your nice tight knot. I'm not going to bother hiding the tail this time because I've already shown you how to do that. I'm just going to stitch and stitch and stitch. And what happens if the last stitch that you made was super gigantic and now there's not a stitch anywhere near to catch when you're ready to tie your knot? What you will need to do is make an extra little stitch. And that will also close up some of that gap that happens when you use such a big long stitch. So now that you've made that little stitch right there, you've got one readily available. There's that nice little loop. I'm going to lay my needle in there and pull the loop tight around it and pull the needle through. I'm going to leave that little loop. Lay the needle in there, pull it tight, and then pull the needle all the way through and tighten up the knot. And that is how you finish off your seam. I am going to hide the tail this time. There you go.